with the Street Fighter stuff, and I was like, I don't even remember why I ordered this. I was like looking through them. I was like, I don't need any of these. I'm so far behind. You just reminded me to write something down, and I completely forgot what it was.
Well,
But
why don't you write it down?
I'm trying to. It's like you reminded me. It was misprints,
You remind
T-shirts.
me of a girl that I once
Was it?
knew.
I don't know. I don't remember. I'm a mess. I'll tell you once we get the cast going, but it's been a rough week of health for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all good.
Yeah,
It's all good.
the only thing I'll talk about before we go to recording, just because I don't think the audio group really cares. I watched Prey. Have you watched Prey yet?
No, I think I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Buddy, I thought you were gonna watch it last week when we
It did.
talked about it.
It didn't work out. It didn't work out. I knew I wanted to. I knew I wanted to focus, and like the only night, literally, like, the Monday night was when I got back from Charleston, where it was a million fucking degrees. We played 3 hours of rugby practice starting at noon. I was completely toast and like borderline falling asleep, and I was like, no, I need to be lasered in on this. Like, and then Tuesday we had normal rugby practice. Wednesday we had hashing crew. Thursday, I went on a ruck and then came home and passed out. So tonight, I think is going to be the night to watch it, though. I think tonight I'm going to watch. I'm going to go pick up a new shotgun, which I'm really excited about, and then drop my books off at the library because that's the way I like to live my life. And then
Jesus.
I'm going to go and watch. I think I'm going to watch The Gray Man on Netflix.
I think I want to watch that.
Okay, so I've heard my dad, who we all know is not the best movie buff out there, but if he watches a movie and doesn't fall asleep, that's a pretty big win.
Oh
So
yeah?
he said, and I quote, check it out. So I think I'm gonna watch Prey, The Gray Man, and maybe this new one with Jamie Foxx about him being a vampire hunter, which looks
I've seen that.
you watched it already?
No, I've seen the trailer, but
Oh,
I
okay.
highly want to watch it. Isn't it Adam Driver with him?
I don't think so. I think it's Snoop Dogg and Dave Franco.
Dave Franco, that's the other one. I knew it was some like weird loser white dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're vampire hunters during the day.
Right. And he's like he like cleans, I don't know. I think it could be interesting, but it looks like a Netflix movie, right? So
Yeah.
it's probably gonna be an hour and 30 minutes at the most. And I think the action, it's supposed to be the same choreographer who did the new Mortal Kombat. So
Oh,
that could
okay.
be something there. Yeah.
All right.
We'll
Well,
see.
let's get this going. YouTube and Twitch. Hit and record in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Back and still on the non-alcoholic train, even after I had a little slip up this week. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 151 of CMD Towers Brews
Woo!
and Builds. I'm Mr. Commodore 5, and my fellow host could potentially be the fly on the wall piloting this, BigTuck.
Oh, interesting. So I like how you still have the introductions, but now you're trying something new. We're not doing the magic card intros anymore, but there's still an extra a little bit. I like it.
But technically, there is a card in the deck called Fly.
That is true. That is true. And a banger of a card at that.
The banger.
So how are you doing today? I know you're very excited for tonight, which I'm excited for you. What are you doing? Tell everyone out there.
Oh yeah. So I got the Godfather, the creator of Half Chub. All hail. I got him for his birthday. We're big Incubus fans. We've been to Red Rocks and seen them. I would say that's like the one band that's kind of like our connection. And for his birthday, I got him. Incubus did like this limited edition coffee set. It's like the ceramic mug. Like how
Oh,
they
okay.
have morning view. They had morning brew. So it's like this cool little
Oh,
collaboration.
okay.
So I got
That
him
sounds
like
like
this little.
that's a great. Hey, that's a great gift. I bet he
I
really
thought
liked
so.
that.
He did, and because he's a coffee guy, so I got him
Yeah.
that, and I was like, you know what? I think Incubus is coming to Kansas City. Let me see what tickets are, because I wasn't going to pay out the butt for it.
Yeah.
But the
Right.
tickets were like $60, not terrible.
Where are they
Um,
playing?
they're playing at Sandstone, which is now okay for people that don't know anything about Kansas City. We have this outdoor amphitheater.
It's like
that's
I think it changed names twice when I was living there.
and it has since changed another 2 or 3 times. So it went from Sandstone to, I think, Verizon to Cricket to Mazuma. Now it's
Yes.
like Azura or Azumi. some other credit union has it, which
A,
it doesn't bode well for
It's a
your
Sousa.
venue. Well, yeah, it doesn't bode well for your credit union or your venue if only credit unions have the
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
want to give you money to have their name on your amphitheater. So
uh, that's exciting. I mean, that's a good venue though.
yeah,
It's still solid.
yeah, it's not bad. So we're seeing Incubus Sublime with someone called Rome. I don't know who the hell that is opening up for them. So it should be interesting. We love Incubus, so I assume we're just going to get a lot of the greatest hits. We are going to
Yeah.
take some Delta 8 edibles and maybe a little vape pen with
I was
us.
gonna say, are you gonna take a little bit of your own?
But no, we're just real pumped. And
Nice.
upstairs right now, I actually have simmering some Zhao Ming Sheng, I think is the way it's pronounced, but I just call it Beijing noodles. It's this
Oh,
great
yum.
noodle dish that me and my buddy Jared had when we were in China several years ago. I found a recipe and now I got it slow simmering for a couple hours. Kind of, what do we want to call that? Reduce it, make it a little
Yes.
thicker. And oh man, we're gonna chow on some of that before the concert. It's gonna be great.
That sounds very exciting. My night is going to be of taking my antibiotics and going to bed at 9 o'clock at night.
So what's
I
going on with you?
okay. So this week I had I think I got like a scratch when I was disc golfing from like a plant, right? And I think I had like a minor breakout. Like it's just I was like whatever,
Like
chomping
the thing that
around.
kills people, in like 1530. Oh, how'd you die? Well, I got scratched by a plant.
Yeah,
Shit
exactly.
happens.
So I kind of like it definitely I had like some sort of reaction to it, but it was really small. But
Okay.
Saturday during the 3 hour long practice, it was so hot. I think it got like sweaty and then like spread and it got to be like this big of like
Ooh,
looks like a bruise, right? So luckily on Tuesday, I was going to the doctor anyway to get my
yeah.
last HPV vaccination. So I did that. And I was like, hey, while I'm here, can you guys take a look at this? And they're like, yeah, you need to get on antibiotics. So I started that. And then I'm going to it's a international rugby tournament. And the monkeypox is like all over the place, right? So it's like,
Really?
oh, it's big. Yeah. And also it's very prevalent in the community of the tournament the tournament is representing,
Ah,
which is a whole other thing. So I had to go so I finally got a chance to go get that on Thursday. And then today I woke up and there were like bumps on my hand and on like my lower back. So I don't know if it's like a weird reaction to that or 2 vaccines in a week or antibiotics. But I'm back on the NA train. I'm off the tobacco and just trying to hopefully recover before my flight tomorrow.
Cheapany Christmas, man. Yeah, I had a minor monkeypox scare last
Oh,
week.
really? Really?
Yeah, yeah, I had for some reason Monday through Thursday I kept breaking out in hives, but it didn't look like normal hives at first. So for your first thought is just like it's kind of like when COVID was first a thing and someone would just like
Yeah.
coughs once. It's like, oh, you got COVID, don't you?
Right, right,
You
right.
don't
Yeah,
even
you
think like
immediately
they just
go
have
to
an
the
itch.
worst case, right? Yeah.
Yep. But no, and now I'm fine because I looked up what monkeypox looks like, and it's like, oh, my skin does not
No,
look like that.
yeah, it's like pimples that are that big supposedly.
Yeah,
So, and like I don't I I there are people on the team who are going to be more at risk with their extracurricular activities than what I am, but still there's unless we can start playing touch rugby, you're in contact and it's spread through sweat and like skin on skin contact. So it's like, all right, I might as well be safe. I might as well do it. It's free. But they
yeah.
didn't give you no crackers, no Oreos, no juice, no nothing.
I
Like
mean,
what the
did you get that
hell?
when you got your COVID vaccine?
I guess not, but I mean, I got it afterwards on my own volition. But it's like whenever you go get blood, they give you that. I understand that you have to replenish your fluids or whatever, but still,
Yeah.
like, how about a little respect for someone who's trying to do the betterment for the world?
Oh my goodness. Well, everyone, Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we have conquered our path to 32, the 12 themes of EDH decks, we have moved on to a segment called Say Yes to the Deck. And
Woo!
this will comprise of one of our hosts. Today it's me, building a deck online specifically geared towards the playstyle or maybe a gap in the person's collection for the other, BigTuck, and still a bit challenging how they play EDH. At the end, we will see if they say yes to the deck, but of course, the heart of Brews and Builds is still here. So we described the brewing of decks similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's ramp and setting your board state. We call that grain.
And grains are the foundation of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually in a 60-40 ratio. The hops help with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content or lack thereof of a beer. Decks always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp into bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they usually mix of staples and specialty cards.
And the next one is how does your board interact with all of your opponents? We call that hops.
And hops give the beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They'll grow a variety of strands and help distinguish subcategories like this hop water, which is quite delicious, from our friends over at Lagunitas. Our choice help clear and interact with the board so the deck can ultimately do what it wants.
And then, of course, my favorite. How does the deck close out and win games? We do call that yeast.
There's some good ones. There's some really good ones in here. Yeast are microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol CO2. It adds the alcohol content and the carbonation. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water, which is pretty much what I've been doing today. And without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then do we have shenanigans? These could be pet card synergies that could be in the deck that are just kind of fun. We call that spice.
And not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the pepper that turns a stout into a jalapeno stout, or the additional hops that turn an IPA into a double IPA. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, is where we like to talk about it. And there are a few options in here, which is always difficult to do for. It's always difficult to do for these say yes to the decks.
Absolutely. But to seal off the episode, we do have a bottle capping, and it's going to be Big Tucks, 3 cuts, and recommendations of the deck that'll be, well, under $5, under $50, in a no budget. Just can't talk about those mana only lands. So without further ado, let's get brewing. So, we're kind of at a point with our channel that Big Tuck and I are just effectively running out of decks that we personally own in paper. And so you're going to see more of these thought experiments challenging each other to try and build. And so that's what I was kind of looking for here. Big Tuck's doing his great EDH deconstruction movement and just tearing decks apart left and right. And so I asked him, what's a couple color combinations or archetypes that you're looking for that you haven't figured out yet? And he mentioned Azorius. So of course I immediately go to ha 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 ha. Maybe I could just be an asshole and completely make him arch enemy. But
Yeah.
I decided to be a little bit easier. So I thought I could use last week's chaos draft around the Esper Blink momentum that we had to do something a little bit similar, but give it a unique take. So I want you
Yeah.
guys to welcome Imoen, the Mystic Trickster, and a very
Imoen,
helpful
sir.
Imoen, apologies. Mystic Trickster and a very helpful background of Far Traveler. The entire purpose of this deck is for Big Tuck to get the initiative left, right, and center. So I'm going to read off the kind of 4 components of the deck, and then Big Tuck, why don't you read off what Imoen and Far Traveler do after that?
Will do.
So the main components of this deck, everyone, it's going to be cast spells on when they enter the battlefield. We trigger initiative, venture into the dungeon on some circumstances, but I'm sure as time goes on and more initiative things will be printed, Big Tuck
Yeah.
could easily swap those out. Number 2, blink permanents to get additional triggers to enter the dungeon and the Undercity. Just do it as often as we can. Number 3, make our creatures unblockable so we can get that initiative back because Big
Yeah.
Tuck is in a red zone play group. Definitely, they are going medium to tall, and they're going to hit him. And so he has to be able to get it back. And then number 4, do what Azorius does. We got to control the board so no one player goes a little what I call cray cray. And really,
Very official term.
yeah, absolutely. Because we are winning off the drips and drabs via combat and dungeon undercity triggers. So that was kind of my inspiration for this. Big Tuck, why don't you read what these 2
Sure.
cards do and give your 2 cents on if you think I was able to accomplish that?
Yeah. For Traveler, for starters, 2 colorless and a white for legendary enchantment background. Commander creatures you own, have at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target tapped creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Great, right? Like, we're going to be swinging in. I'm going to want those points there. And then the other commander, Imoen, Mystic Trickster, 2 colorless and a blue for a 2/3 legendary creature, human rogue wizard, which is actually, we'll get to that in a second, which is actually pretty smart. So Ward 2, which is great. I love that kind of, again, it's a modal ability. And then it says at the beginning of your end step, if you have the initiative, draw a card, no discard or anything, which is great. And then draw another card if you completed a dungeon, and she has to choose a background 2/3. So, Mr. Combo, do you know the brief history of Imoen from the game Baldur's Gate?
Uh, no.
Okay, well, she's the most annoying character in the entire game, outside of maybe Ares. She is the first NPC that you ever get. You can immediately just kick her to the curb and not ever talk to her again. But because the second game needed more story base, it turns out she is technically your sister and a ball spawn, which means that she has God of the murder. She has blood of the murder god in her. And but the thing that's really cool about it that they did well on it is that she starts as a rogue, as a thief, and then dual classes later into a wizard.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but it's like I don't want to get into the specifics of it. She's a playable character throughout the entire first one, and then the second one, if you can spend all this effort and stuff and give her all the best scrolls and everything, and like power her up in the first part of the game, and then she just gets arrested and put into a spell jail for 2/3 of the game. So you can like
And we're
literally
talking
waste
about
a
a
bunch of
video game, right?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
video game.
Okay.
Baldur's Gate 2, Shadow of Om are the two video games, which I used to play
Gotcha.
all the time with our mutual friend Ish Ryan Sturdivant. We've gone back and forth on these things and of the say yes to the decks, and I really think that we've continued to kind of get closer into what like every time we do this, right? We're always like, okay, yes, I like this, but I like there's one piece. I'm still saying yes to the deck, so on and so forth, right? And I gotta tell you, this by far and away is the best slam. So I'm just spoiler alert. This is 100% a yes. I'm just gonna get that out of the way now because
No,
this is
you're ruining the content.
I don't care. It's a slam. It's a slam dunk. And here's why. You built it around a mechanic that is silly and has very few print qualities, which I love. You built it in colors with cards that I like. And most importantly, the thing that I like the most about it is I think this deck is really good. And there's no Rhystic Study. There's no Smothering Tithe. There's no Cyclonic Rift, right? Like, and it costs $150. I was looking through this and I was like, yes, there are all these yes, like everything in it looks great. So I don't know how much effort you put into this or how much thought or anything, but like this one out of all the ones that I think out of the ones even I built for you or vice versa, I think this is the one that has like hit the nail on the head to the play style, to the way the decks are constructed, all that sort of stuff. So
Well,
I know we're breaking the rules here a little bit, but I can only contain my excitement for so long.
yeah, I did have a note. I did specifically build this deck excluding a lot of the staples and standards
Yes.
for Azorius, and that's honestly just due to your play group being more middle powered.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I didn't think the deck needed it. It
Yeah.
wasn't like we were hurting for card draw, so we needed Rhystic Study. I will say Smothering Tithe did come to mind just because the deck is a little bit higher CMC. I think it, I believe, a 3 4
Yeah,
4
three, 4, 5.
3 4 5. Yeah. So I did think of that stuff. It was just mainly, you know, let's just see if we can get by without it.
Yeah.
But I do think a Smothering Type could help smooth out being able to play everything. But yeah, it just wasn't necessary at
Yeah.
least for today.
But it's great. But like you said, like I think it's great. Like I think some of the choices you took from like ramp and interaction, especially, I didn't even know were options. I do like, and I think the initiative is great, but the Undercity itself is it's a good way to go through, right? It's a fun
Hmm.
dungeon to go through, but I love the fact that you can venture into other ones and kind of have two going at once, right?
Yep.
Because my understanding is you can only go through the Undercity with initiative, right? Either at the beginning of your turn or when you get the initiative again. But when you venture
Uh,
into a dungeon, you have to go into a different one. So you have
well,
two going at once.
I do not believe that is the case. Let me MTG initiative. Let's look this up because I'm
But
pretty sure what.
while you're looking that up, would you like me to go through and do
Yes.
some more deck stats?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So
Yes.
this is this is costing about $150. Which I saw there's like a handful of cards in here that are a little more pricey, so you could probably get that down to the $100 range if you wanted to. It currently has 5 mythics, 31 rares, 27 uncommons, 11 commons. You nailed it with the with the pie chart, 100% on the lands there. So good job on that. And it's currently rated as a 42% casual, 58 competitive, which is, I don't know, it reads kind of probably about right. Like maybe if you, but like I think this is because your Ziatora 6 CMC one was like 75%, right?
Yeah.
So like just reading through this, I feel like this is way more competitive than that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the actual, at least with MTG fandom, if a player has already entered in a dungeon different from Undercity, when the initiative triggers, it moves further into that dungeon. So I'm
Oh.
99% sure you can only get to the Undercity via initiative. But when you gain the initiative, if you're already in a dungeon, I'm 90% sure you have to complete that dungeon before you can actually go to the Undercity.
And then okay, and then when it's when you get the if you get the initiative, you go into the Undercity, then you venture into a dungeon, you just go down the
Yep,
Undercity, right?
you got it.
Okay, got it. You can only have one active dungeon. You can
Yes.
only have one active dungeon at any time, and you can only have the Undercity if you took the initiative, right?
Correct, correct. Because the Undercity
Got
is
it.
a dungeon. It's just only accessible via initiative.
Initiative, right? And the initiative is maybe like just the last thing before we start diving into this. I think it's my second favorite mechanic under Monarch because it forces people to attack you. The dungeon's super fun. It creates really fun board states, and being able to take the initiative multiple times in a single turn with blink effects is going to be amazing. So I'm so excited to play this. I probably will be building it in real life.
So the only question I have for you before we get going, and you don't name any card names, you've already spoiled enough, you SOB. Was there any cards in here that you were just shocked I didn't put in outside of the Azorius staple standards? You know, I'm sure you were surprised I didn't have Rift or shit like that in there.
Yeah,
But
not
just
not
overall, was
really.
there anything just glaring?
No, like the picks, the ones I'm putting in are very like I think they're really strongly synergistic cards that are kind of like pet cards of mine as well, right? Which like but no, I thought there's like a good amount of removal. It seems like it'd be super consistent, right? Like you have and like there's enough I feel like there's enough Azoria staples in here where it can do some heavy lifting where some of the more obscure um initiative and venture cards may be a little slower. So
Okay,
yeah, no, I thought it pretty much had everything that it needed and I was looking for. So
awesome.
like I said,
Well,
you nailed it, man.
no, I didn't. No one knows that yet.
Oh yeah,
Collective people listening, earmuffs.
redacted.
Redacted. All right. Well, before we get into this deck tech, we would love it if you guys could support us. I mean, we're streaming live on Twitch and YouTube. You guys will hear this on every audio platform next week. We'll be able to watch the recording on YouTube. We're constantly trying to innovate and create new content and improve the content. So our patron program is the easiest way to do that, to be honest. Patreon.com/CMD Tower. Would just love it if you guys could go in for either a dollar, 5, 15, 25 a month, and be able to contribute. You know, for any of our $5 up tiers, we do give you merchandise right out of the gate. Plus, whenever we do come out with new merch in the future, if it aligns to your tier, you automatically get it at no cost. All of those directly go to funding the channel. A big one that definitely took out of the CMD Tower penny book yesterday was booking these stupid ass Ruby statuses for Command 30 down in Vegas. $350 just to go into the
Yeah,
command zone.
it's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. But hey, that's $700 that comes from you guys. Kind of. A little bit from my pocket too, but that's okay. Anything you guys could do would help. Patreon.com/CMD Tower. Well, we're going to start with the grains. And BigTuck, I always forget with it's a say yes to the deck. Who actually starts? Is it me because I
I
created it, or is it
I
you
think
because it's
okay.
yours?
I feel like it's the person who starts every time is the person who uploaded the deck.
Okay. Okay.
So if it's this is the deck that you uploaded to it, so I think you start with it.
Okay.
What about that?
Okay. Well, let's start then with a card that when I saw it printed, I'm sure it probably had some decent standard play, but I don't know. It just didn't really look good to me from a commander standpoint. But It's a modal card, which Tuck and I love. It has 3 ETB effects,
Let's
and we're
go.
going 3,
Yes, yes,
2,
yes,
1.
yes.
Charming
Charming Prince
Prince.
from that goddamn set every time.
Wait, wait. I got it. I got it. There we
Whoa!
go.
Oh, it's
All
starting to fill
right.
up.
Colorless white creature human noble rare from Throne of Eldraine. It's a
Of course.
2/2. And Tuck, just hit it. What are the 3 ETBs that you
The
get to pick from?
I would say there's 2 that are solid and 1 that is not so hot. One of the solid ones is Scry 2, very helpful with the amount of card draw that we're gonna have in this deck, right? The least helpful one is you gain 3 life, which is like the same thing as sacrificing a food, I guess. So if you're in a pinch, sure.
Sure.
And then the last one is exile another target creature you own, return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So again, I love it how you can use this to exile something that has the initiative. At the end of your turn, we have other blink effects, so you can potentially blink this one to blink that one again and get 2 ETBs, those sort of things. So I agree with you. Like I think this is a card. It's also $3.45, which I think is kind of insane,
That's
but
absurd.
it's such a cool card and it's so funny with the name in it. So, but it's the same thing. It's like kind of in a human deck, maybe, but I think it's a really good fit in here.
Yeah, see, I like this card because of the modality. You don't feel bad playing it as early as you possibly can. Like we always talk about
Yes.
sometimes these cards, it's like, man, you kind of need to hold on to it to that mid game because it's going to do XYZ. Like
Right.
honestly, if this was just ETB, exile another target creature you own, blah blah blah, then you do have to figure out, okay, I got to wait and have something out there that I can do it. But it's like, no, turn 2, okay, I'll do it. Scry 2, let's fix my next couple
Perfect. Yep.
draws. It'll be there. If it dies, our boy with the 3 CMC tribal is still in the deck. We won't name certain titans. Oh, wait, shit. We're going to be able to get him back, but I just love that this
Yeah.
is early game, mid game, late game. It don't
Yeah.
matter game. It's going to do something.
2/2 blocks elves. I mean, yeah, I think it's a really solid pick in here.
All right, Tuck, why don't you give us your second one then?
So this is one that I almost was like, I'm just gonna put this into every deck because I feel like I'm just gonna shoehorn it into every deck because I feel it's one of the more innocuous, efficient ways to take the dungeon, to take the initiative, and you can bring it
Huh.
with you on your back.
Oh my gosh. Did we
Wait,
really
no
do
way.
this? 2 for 2. 3, 2, 1. Dungeoneer's pack.
Legendary Pack. This card's incredible. 30 and see, it's so easy. I'm like so close to just putting it one in every deck. Just cut like a 3 CMC mana rock and just put this in here. So three colorless for an artifact. It's an uncommon for 5 cents. Dungeoneer's Pack enters the battlefield tapped, so you kind of have to wait for it. But at the low cost of 2 mana and tapping it, what do you get, Mr. Combo?
You get to sacrifice it. You get the initiative. You gain 3 life. You draw a card, and you get to create a treasure token. The only other downside beside it entering the battlefield tapped is that you can only activate it as a
Yeah,
sorcery, which kind of sucks. But I thought this was so cute,
it's
especially because
amazing.
we have the Titan Boy in here. You'll be
Yeah.
doing
Oh
this,
yeah.
you'll be getting it back, and you'll be. I could see you in one game, Tuck, just shoehorning away to crack Dungeoneer's pack at least 4 or 5 times.
Well, and the best part is it's like people play that traveler's amulet all the time, right? Because it's like the
Mhm.
one drop. This effectively does that too, because the first step of the dungeon is you get a land back to your hand. So, or
Oh,
you
there
get
you
to
go.
tutor for a land like straight out the gates, right? So it even has that, fixes your lands, secret entrance, search your library for basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So I know I have this in my Queen Marquesa deck because I'm trying to shovel everything I can into that one. But I don't know, like I think it's sneaky good, right? It kind of pays for itself. I don't know. I think it's great
Oh no, it's absolutely awesome. So,
for
all
five
right.
cents nonetheless.
Well, we're 2 for 2. I'm a little worried we might be 3 for 3 because I feel like this card does scream Big Tuck, but this is an enchantment that
Okay,
forces you to attack or you have to sacrifice it. I'm quite
enchantment.
curious about your obsession. It's Curious Obsession.
Oh yes,
Single blue enchantment aura. It's an uncommon for 450 to $6.
yeah.
But it's because it's that good, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't attack with a creature this turn, sacrifice Curie Obsession. So this does, I think, a few things for you in this deck. Initiative primarily is triggered off of damage and being able to get that back. So I
Mhm.
genuinely believe you'll be attacking with a creature
Yeah.
every single turn. Second, get your card draw for the low cost of 1 mana from your hand. Super, super great. But the thing I love about it is that even if someone, uh, Dryad Arbor is kind of a bad example. Darksteel Mutation. Someone Darksteel
Sure.
Mutations your creature with Curious Obsession. You don't have to attack with that creature that's enchanted. You can attack with any creature on your board, and you still get to keep the Curious Obsession on your battlefield.
Right, right, right.
So that's the thing I really enjoy about it. Plus, Titan.
That's what. So this one was. There's like there's two cards in the grain that I think both. It's hard. I think both of them are kind of on the block for me a little bit, just because this is kind of like a one time go, right? Like unless you have the Sun Titan, which is great, right?
How's it a one
Like
time go?
well, because if you put it on a creature and then have to bounce it or something like that, it falls off and goes into the graveyard, right? I just mean like it's like if we're playing the blink, if we're leaning more into the blink theme, you got to be really careful where you're putting this, right?
hmm I
So,
mean,
but I do like the fact that you're going to be attacking, like the part in the end where it's like you're not attack, like you have to attack every turn. Might as well be. I think, in my opinion, that's a blank. Like that might as well just be blank on this card, right? Because I am
yeah,
getting the red zone all the time, and if you put it on your commander and want to do some sneaky stuff with her, getting 2 draws for free is solid as well. So I don't dislike the card. Again, the cutting was very difficult. My only thing was we're not really playing in too many enchantments, and we only have some time to recur it with. But it is a really, really good pick.
yeah. I guess the last thing I would say to that, Tuck, is if the argument is ever only Sun Titan can get it back, well, then we should probably cut the Dungeoneers pack because Sun Titan is the only thing that can
But that
get
one
that
gives you
back.
the initiative.
No,
That gives you
I
the
don't.
initiative.
I don't care. I don't care.
Gives you the initiative.
That wasn't part of your reason. Your part of
It's
your
the gift
reason
that keeps on
was
giving for the rest of the game.
the Sun Titan thing applies to anything, and the blink thing. You're not going to be blinking every single creature you have. I mean,
True.
that's just the fact of the matter. There's going to be creatures that you do not want to blink because of whatever the ability is. So you're going to have targets for Curious Obsession, and the whole like, well, if I blink it, it's going to fall off. It's like, well, I guess that happens if you're a bad Magic
You
player.
should you should put it on something that's gonna be blinked. But
Yeah,
again, like I said last time, you asked me to cut cards, so I have to make the cut somewhere.
yeah, do better. God, jeez.
Lord.
All right. Well, why don't you give us your only, like me, unique pick of the two of us?
I thought this was going to be the one you're going to talk about because this is also my wheelhouse. Another slam dunk initiative pick, Saravox Tome. Come on,
Ah,
four colorless for an artifact. Saravox Tome. When it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. You can tap it and add 1 colorless. If you have the initiative, you get 2 colorless instead. And then lastly, 3 colorless and tap. Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Activate only if you've completed a dungeon. So again, right down the pipe with me. The thing I like about this too is I think one of the cards in here that is going to be extremely overpowered is Teleportation Circle
oh yeah.
because it can target creatures and artifacts.
hmm
So I think we're gonna have no problem rushing through and getting these dungeons done to not only make it cost, it half pays for itself, I suppose,
hmm
as well as giving you that ability of flipping stuff off the top of the deck.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
It's
cool. I
great.
mean, it does give you this really interesting wheel effect if you're able to complete a dungeon.
Hmm.
Just like, all right, let's spin it, see what I get off the top. So I do think that's pretty unique. And I do also like that it pays for 50% immediately when
Yeah.
it comes out. Because 4 isn't great for essentially colorless mana rock. I
Yeah. Right.
wish it was add any mana of your color
Of
commander's
any
color
color. Yeah.
identity
Oh,
and then add
yes. Yeah.
2 if you have the initiative. That would have been, I think, a little bit more palatable for me. But
But it
no,
is only two. It is only 2 colors, right? So I think you
yep,
can kind of get away with more of these colorless only artifacts there. And
that's
then the
fair.
other thing, just to let you know, is that Saravok is the person this is named after is technically Imoen's half brother. So there you go.
And
Another
with
ball
that,
spawn.
Vorthos nerds. We're going to leave the grain section. And before we head over to our next one, we would love for you guys to check out our Etsy store, etsy.com, and just type in CMD Tower into the search bar. We do have updated artwork so you can get clear, crisp views of the different merchandise that we have on there, whether it's foil playmats, the different Monarch and reminder tokens, or even as we now start to get into fall and winter, we do have those Jund
Oh
sweaters
yeah.
on there, and we will not be buying more of those. So when they're gone, they're gone. So definitely go check it out. Anything you do on there, once again, kind of goes to the fund of helping keep this channel alive. So just remember etsy.com, head over, type in CMD Tower. Now let's get to the hops and Big Tuck. Hopefully one of us has a unique thought this go around. What was your potential unique thought?
So I think that one of the ways that we're really going to get through and win this game is going to be through chip damage and getting benefits off of attacks, no matter what the size. So
Okay.
getting something that not only gives you the initiative, but is going to give you a little helper every turn that you have the initiative, which you should to be able to get it back. I think it's really worth the weight in gold. So in that case, Feywild Caretaker, I think is a great card in here. So 4 colors and a blue for a creature orc wizard. It's a 3/4. When it enters battlefield, you get the initiative. So again, you get to go tutor for your mana or continue down through the dungeon. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you have the initiative, create a 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature token with flying. This was a card that was like a curse card during pre-release. It was so hard to break through. It did so much work, and just having that little dragon lying around for blockers for anything is so useful. Like I said, when I'm playing this, I want to get the initiative as much as possible. Hopefully twice a turn if I can, either by taking it or starting with it, then playing something else as the initiative. So the fact this is a great blink target and gives you something bonus for having the initiative, great card across the board.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it kind of reminds me of that lieutenant blue card. I think that's a 2 colorless blue where if you got your commander at your end step, I think you make a 1/1 Drake.
We might be talking about that one later.
Oh god. Um so, I like it. I mean, the 5 mana for me is a bit steep, but you know, I hear you. You need blockers, and you also need flyers that can get through and get the
You need as
initiative back. So it's hitting a lot of
and you
things.
need as every single card in here that says take the initiative on it. So I'm
That's
taking it.
true. All right. Well, my first one. So it looks like you and I went in different angles. So obviously, with this deck, we're just trying to do initiative in dungeons as often as I can. You need ways to slow down your opponents even a little bit, but also provide some abilities to do other things. So I thought this Lawbringer Sphinx was just phenomenal. I'm talking Azer the Lawbringer. This is 2 colorless, white, white, blue, blue, legendary creature Sphinx. It's a 6/6 for a buck 50, and it's a mythic. That's flying. Get that initiative back. Um, Whenever it ETBs, each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. When Azur attacks, you may pay X, white, blue, blue, and if you do, you gain X life and draw X cards. I don't think you're ever going to just have a plethora of excess mana at the end of your turns to do that last effect.
Probably
Um,
not.
so I don't really see that being a play, but I do see. Okay, I need to get that initiative. Let me get through. Boom, I got the initiative back.
Yeah.
All right, I'll blink Azer. Now you guys can't do instant and sorceries during your next turns, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again. And you're not necessarily saying that they can never play instants because they just can't do it on their turn. They can do it on other people's
Right.
turns. Yeah, it does kind of lock out the sorcery piece, which I think this deck, if a board wipe hits it, that just hurts. It hurts
Yeah,
real bad.
absolutely. That hurts. And then also sorceries are usually the ways that green ramps out. So if you can get Azor down quick, then it makes it even harder for them to catch up and harder for them to do their big mana things. So yeah, I like it. I think, and I kind of agree with the last part. I think this deck is going to be pretty mana hungry. So I think that's going to be maybe just like I don't have anything else in hand. I'm gonna time walk myself just so I can go and refill my hand and get some life back. But
Yeah,
I think it's good enough, and a 6/6 flyer is anything to blow your nose at, right? So
very
like
fair.
that's still gonna hit hard. So yeah, I like it. I think it's a fun inclusion.
All right. Well, what's your next hop?
So this is the one that this was one of the cards where I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a Mr. Combo deck because it's not infinite, but this definitely is a pretty dastardly stacks piece if you play it correctly.
Uh,
Another one from the Azorius block of the guild as well, who
did you
also
say we
I
might
have played
be
against as a commander.
detaining the table?
Yes, and I have played against her as a commander, and it is awful. Three,
Two,
two, one.
one. Lavinia of the 10th.
Lavinia of the 10th. Woo!
Oh, wow.
Detain. What were they thinking? So three
They
colorless.
weren't.
They weren't. No, it's horrible. Three colorless Azorius. That's a white and a blue for 4/4 legendary creature, human soldier with protection from red, and then a whole big block of text after that. I'm gonna leave to Mr. Combo.
Oh, Lord. ETBs. Detain each non-land permanent your opponent controls with CMC 4 or less. And you don't know what detain is? Doesn't shock me, because it's a very
Nope.
niche effect.
I think it's been printed on like 5 cards, and I'm gonna look that up right now to figure it out.
Until your next turn, those permanents can't attack or block, and their activated abilities can't be activated. So I just want you guys to remember. So a treasure can't be used. Mana
Yeah.
rocks can't be used. Lightning greaves can't be used. It just destroys decks, especially
Yeah.
speedy decks.
Yeah, it's borderline like if this deck was built a little more aggressive, it might be on the chopping block for me just because it is so strong. But we don't have a way to tutor it,
Yep.
right? It's only a 4/4 path to exile. It's gone for the game and that sort of thing. So I think in a deck like this is a totally fair card to have out just to slow people down who are doing prosper and creating gazillion treasures, right? Or doing elf ball and they have a gazillion things to tap down. So I think it's a beatable card in this thing. Now, if you'd come out with this as a commander, I'd be like, I'm not so sure about that. But I think I think it's a true hop card in here that's not beatable and is really going to help you interact with the board and win the game.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add to that, don't feel bad if you put a stacks piece in your deck, because like I was infamous for this with my Rakdos Greven deck, putting
Yeah, with
Dampening Sphere in there.
dampening sphere. Yeah.
Yeah. And initially I think, Tuck, you were like, well, why in the hell would you do that? And it's like, look, my deck runs slow. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to stop people, but I really need them to slow down so that way I can try to catch up. And now that kind of gets into the argument of people being like, well, you should build your decks faster. And it's like, no, I don't want to. But I
Right.
also don't want you to win before I can even show what my deck wants. So Lavinia the 10th isn't going to win you the game by any stretch of the
No.
imagination, but it will let you play a part in the game and not stress about the fact that you're not doing Ancient Tomb, Mana Crypt, this,
Yeah.
that, and then, just playing super high powered.
And I think, yeah, like I guess I misspoke. What I should have said, the way I should have phrased it was, this is a card that will let you not lose the game, right?
Yes.
This is a card. It may not win it for you, but it's going to keep you in it because
Yeah.
everyone else is going to be so far slowed down.
Completely agree. All right. Well, I only got one card left. And this is one that is going to save you from a board wipe. It's instant speed, but the cool thing is that you could still use it at, just even during your turn to get all those ETB effects.
That
We're
is a good
going
card.
to Ghost Away.
Ghost away. Ghost
Also
away.
$13. Holy
Yeah.
hell. Yikes.
Only
So
been printed once, I think. So
two colorless white, instant. Hey, it was printed the year we graduated high school.
what?
Yeah,
Really?
2006.
Nice.
Remove each creature you control from the game. Return those creatures to play under their owner's controls at end of turn. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Board wipe
Yeah.
goes on the stack, Cyclonic Rift goes on the stack. Hey, let's just ghost away. We'll come back. But I think this is that modal card where it's in here for the hop effect to protect you from the board wipes. But Tuck, this could be a yeast card where at the end of game you're like, you know what? If I'm able to get 15 dungeon triggers, I think I got it. When that sounds
Right.
ridiculous, but you have so many creatures in here and effects that trigger venture or initiative. That's
Right.
not unrealistic to say.
And ways to double those up potentially in the different categories
Or
well.
even double
So
and double. So
yeah.
yes.
So yeah, like I think I completely agree, right? And I think this is like Premier Blink. I like that this one's all targets of yours, right? So it is like that sort of like easy include board wipe protection. Yeah, I think it's a really cool card. I'm pretty sure that there's versions of this that cost significantly less money. So I might sub one out for that if and when I do end up building this. But like I said, yeast card, flexible, and prevents people from interacting with your board, hop card all the way.
Oh, well, and I'm sorry. What do you mean if you're building it? You already said yes. It's clear that you're building it.
I was thinking about this. I
I
I
spoke
literally
too
think I
soon.
have copies of every single one of these, and most of the stuff I have in bulk. So it's either that or I'm gonna have to spend $20 to get this going. And I'd I'd rather spend $20 on this deck than never play my other Azorius deck, which is about how many reps I get in with it a year.
That's
So
fair. All right. Well, give us your final hop card.
all right, this guy I think is going to be doing tons of work in here. We are going to be attacking a lot, folks, which means our defenses are going to be down. But when our boy White Plume Adventurer finally goes through the dungeon
So
in the
good.
Undercity, not going to be a problem anymore. So White Plume Adventurer is a 2 colorless and a white for a creature or cleric. That's a 3/3. When it ETBs, you take the initiative. Already a slam dunk in there. And then at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, untap a creature you control. If you've completed a dungeon, untap all creatures you control instead. So we're not playing with, I think some people would say like, oh, you need to play with the synergies to like tap and untap. We're not going through that whole rigmarole.
Nope.
That's way too much to go into.
Yep.
Regardless, even if it's just untapping a creature each turn, you can untap your blockers, you can untap your tokens and start getting defenses up. A lot of options here for this. So for me, I think, like we said, completing the dungeon is going to be fairly trivial in my opinion. So getting pretty much, was that Seedborn Muse with your deck is insanely strong. So I love this card. This is a card that I'm trying to put into more decks as well.
Yeah. And actually, the only reason I included it in the deck, just being honest, is I started to think, what if we don't have blink abilities on the battlefield? And we still, because if you think about it, when you blink your creatures, it's effectively untapping all of them.
Yeah,
So then you
yeah,
have
yeah,
your blockers.
yeah. You got
But
your
you
vigilance.
want to have a plan, T, Q, P. You can't just have A, B, and C. And so at least White Plume Adventurer, it's in the hops because it does give you the initiative. So it does directly what your deck wants. It does untap some blockers, which is what your deck is going to need. And it's not a spice because it's not
Yeah,
so fringe, but it's really just there as an alternative option. If you can't blink everything, hey, I could still attack. I could still get my attack triggers, and I don't need to worry about the clapback because I will be able to untap everything.
yeah. And like I said, I think if it didn't have the initiative, definitely more of a spice. But the fact that it gets that train going as well, so good, so good.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the hot profile. And before we head over to the next section, we would love for you guys to check out abyssproxyshop.com. Be sure to use code CMD Tower. Also, we have updated our link tree with their website and discount code posted. And on top of that, we created a second one underneath of that that'll directly link you to the custom gallery. So I always talk about, the custom
Oh,
gallery, being able to see the hundreds, if not thousands, of different arts that they've done and frames and things like that. I would highly encourage you to go on there. It's literally $5 a card. This card stock's great. I know members of the collective have done it. A lot of our personal friends have done it as well. And every single purchase you guys make using our discount code does give a little bit of financial relief back to the channel. So if you're going to need a playtest card or a proxy, just remember abyssproxyshop.com.
a.com.
Now, let's head over to the yeast. And I'm worried we're going to be aligned on a lot. So let's just get it out of the way. We got another background in here.
Oh, yeah.
And yep, 3, 2, 1. Dungeon Delver.
Dungeon Delver, right? Okay,
Yep.
good. These background cards are so good. Like, I have not seen many people play them since they come out. They're insane. If you're playing a top-down deck, literally look into these things. It's like free. It's free effects on whatever deck you're trying to do. It's
I'm
so
going to
good.
disagree with you there, but this card is very good for this deck. Colorless blue, legendary enchantment background. It's an uncommon for a
Yep.
nickel. Commander creatures you own have room abilities of dungeons you own trigger an additional time.
It's
So
insane.
it's absolutely insane because that's exactly what your deck wants. I need to get one of these for my Cephras deck. I
Yep.
love that it costs 3 mana or less because this is a card that will make someone burn their enchantment removal on you,
Oh,
hands down.
this was one where in the pre-release the initiative was so popular, like because you don't like a lot of rares and whatnot just take the initiative, right? And when you attack someone you get it back. As soon as this one, if someone came up and this was one of their backgrounds, they're just like, oh no, like this is, we got like whatever enchantment removal we have to stop this, right? Like
Yeah.
2/4/1 skeletons with menace, 2 treasure tokens, like that's just in the undercity, right? So it's really really strong.
Yeah, I could not disagree with anything you said. The only thing I'm going to give 15 seconds. Backgrounds are not automatic slam dunks into the 99. The reason you're not seeing them is because it is an enchantment that is limited to only your commander. When you would rather have an enchantment that interacts with any creature you have on the battlefield. So, they're good. They're really cool, especially when you have them in the command zone, but I don't think they're just an auto include in any deck that
Oh,
cares
I think
about a
so.
top-down
I
commander
think some
because
of them are,
it's such
and I'm
a
telling you.
limit, but it's limited. It only works if your commander is on the battlefield. And heck, I even think during our last hashtag SCR, one person didn't even play their commander that game.
What?
Yeah. So, anyways,
Weak.
uh, Tuck, what is your second one?
So this is a card that beat me 4 times during the pre-release, and I opened one and then beat someone else with it. And it's, I don't know. We don't have. I think if this card just said instant and sorcery, that wouldn't be so hot. But the fact that this one will copy any spell, no matter what, and then do it again is insane. Are you ready, sir?
Oh, I'm ready. 3, 2, 1. Tomb of
Tomb of
Horrors
Horrors
of
Adventure.
Adventure.
It's
Wow.
it's freaking bonkers. So it's a little expensive. It's a little on the expensive side, but it's worth
Yep.
it. 5 colorless and a blue for a creature elf monk. That's a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative, but that's not all, folks. It gets much scarier after that. Mr. Combo, what is left on the card?
Well, whenever you cast your second spell, spell,
Spell.
each turn, copy it. So, creature spell, you get 2.
You too.
If you've completed a dungeon, copy that spell twice instead. And of course, you may choose new targets for the copies. A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. Holy
It's
hell.
so good. I saw someone go through the entire Undercity twice in a turn with this card.
So, I genuinely have a question for you, Tuck.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be exaggerating. This seems like an auto include in a lot of decks that run blue, right? Even if you don't care about the initiative,
I think so.
like 6 mana, you get a copy spell
Yeah. It's like, I mean,
every
like Hive
turn.
Mind costs that, right? But like
Yeah.
I think it's really good, right? And I think the big trick too is each turn, right? So if you're in your spell slingers, you're going to be able to get that sort of value even if you're cantripping and that sort of thing. I haven't seen it. No one out here plays blue unless you count like blue in slivers as playing blue. So I haven't seen this one out here, but I do think it's really strong. I think it's insanely strong in any of these initiative decks, the blink decks, the whole 9 yards. So I have one already, which is great, even though it's only 21 cents, but it's just one less thing I have to put in my TCG order.
Yeah. Um all right. Well, you got a last one?
I really wish that you could rule 0 and put this in as a companion, because that would be like my dream of being able to have 3 effective things in the command zone. But
Okay.
no one will let you do that because Yorian, the Sky Nomad, will
Oh,
force you into building an illegal EDH deck. So 3 colorless, and Azorius, that's blue white. For legendary creature, bird serpent, that's a 4/5 companion. Your deck must consist of at least 20 cards more than the minimum deck amount. So 120 cards in commander, probably not fair. It's a 4/5 flyer, and then when it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those cards to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So I think once you kind of get the wheels rolling, Yorion is just the target that you do for your Conjurer's Closet, for your Charming Prince, for everything else. and just stack all those things up and just start untapping everything
Wait.
else, bouncing itself.
Oh
Does he
my.
go infinite with Charming Prince? Actually, now
I,
that I think about it.
well, it goes infinite, but not because it's the beginning of the next instep. So essentially, you would end
Oh,
up in a loop where everyone's turn, one or the other is blinking and blinking all your stuff out.
ah. So you can just wait, like I mean, then you just charge through the Undercity or the Madman, the Mage of the
Kind
Madman or
of.
whatever, right?
Wow. That's pretty
Whoops,
crazy.
that's really good.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I
I think
I
it's
put
great, and like a 4 or 5 flyer, which again we don't have that many big stuff, so just having something to gum up the board like that has this monster ability on it, I love it. I think it's a great inclusion in here.
yeah, and I'm glad you like it. You know, I've never seen Yorion in a deck, to be honest, and I think it's
I
because we all are just like, oh, it can't be a companion, it's
yeah,
banned. So it's just like, all
I
right, well,
I
move
think
on.
I think single Aaron was using it as his commander for a while, not as a companion. But he goes through decks so quickly, I don't even remember if that was something he played.
But yeah, I thought the effect was powerful enough to keep it in here. And on top of that, I like the flying because we're going to need to get the initiative back. So
Right,
Yorion's just going to kind of hit on a lot of levels for us.
definitely.
All right.
What's your last one?
So mine, um, man, I'm kind of scared to see this deck. We're talking Radiant Solar because when we
Oh
blink
yes.
everything and they have their own initiative and venture triggers, how about we give them an additional one? Five colorless white, creature angel. It's a rare, it's a 3/6, and it has flying and lifelink. You can pay a white, discard it,
Oh my
venture into the
god.
dungeon, and gain 3 life.
Holy
Or
shit, I didn't read that second part of that second ability.
you should have. Whenever Radiant Solar or another non token creature enters the battlefield under your control, venture into a dungeon. So
Good
let's just play it
god.
out. You blink 5 creatures, and Radiant's one of them. They all come in, and you're going to get 5 venture into the dungeon triggers on top of any additional triggers that those creatures have as well. Very much, Tuck, in one turn, you might go through 2 dungeons on one ETB.
That's what I was just gonna say, because I just counted the Undercity has five steps in it. So you can easily go through that twice. And for those who don't know, just playing the home game, the last bit of the Undercity, Throne of the Dead 3, reveal the top 10 cards of your library, put a creature card from among them on the battlefield with 3/1/1 counters on it. It gains hexproof until your next turn, then shuffle. Woof.
Wow.
Just imagine doing that twice. It's insane.
So now I will tell you, Tuck, just because remember we read the initiative earlier. If you
Yes.
do actually build this and something like this happens, you have to stack it correct because Radiant Solar says venture into the dungeon.
Oh,
If
right.
if yeah, if you end up going through the Undercity, you'll end up being forced into a dungeon after
In a
that. You
different
won't be
one.
able to go
Yeah.
back to the Undercity. So if you're really just trying to stay in the Undercity, it's like, okay, where am I at? Okay, I need 3 triggers, so I want to stack these 3 because
Right.
you'll be able to reorder them however you want because they all enter at the same time. And then you'll want to make sure, okay, these 3 get me through completed. I need to get an initiative here to get back into the
Right.
Undercity, and then we can continue on the train.
So good. It's so
So
good.
good. All right. Well,
So approved.
everyone, that's going to wrap up the yeast profile. Now we're going to head over to the spicy meatball and BigTuck. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go first this time because I don't do any cuts on the say yes to the deck
Okay.
so that I build. And mine's pretty quick because we're going to approach. Are you going to approach? I don't think you
Yes.
are. Oh, you are?
No. Oh no.
Oh,
I will approach this deck, but I'm not going to approach right now.
So I threw an approach of the second sun.
Yes.
This was actually a last minute ad. I had cut a different. I can't remember the card that I had cut, but I did cut one from the deck that didn't end up working how I wanted. And I have a little. I have some logic behind it. So 6 colorless white sorcery. If approach from the second sun was cast from your hand, and you've cast another spell named approach of the second sun this game, you win the game. Otherwise, put approach into its owner's library 7th from the top. You gain 7 life. It's in here and in Spice because this is obviously not what your deck wants to do. Your deck isn't trying to approach of the second sun into a win. But your deck needs alternative ways to win. And I believe with all these ventures and initiatives and
Yeah.
all this stuff, you're going to be drawing a crap ton of cards. And so I
Absolutely.
don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that in one turn you could cast Approach of the Second Sun, go to combat, get your 1800 triggers, draw 7 cards, and then cast it in your second main phase. That's not out of the realm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that too, and like you said, you're drawing away, it's gonna hold up someone for counter magic. I think it's perfectly fine. I think it's a spice for sure, right? We're not tutoring to go get this. It's gonna
Yep.
be a nice win, but with the amount of cards and blink and everything that we're using, it's not like Charming Prince right there, right? Like that's 2 off the top. Your
Oh,
commander
yeah.
draws 2. So at the beginning, so if you can blink Charming Prince and your commander, that's 4 cards that you've shuffled through in one turn, right? So that doesn't see. I don't think that's too far of a
No.
too far of a limb to stand out on, right?
Yeah, really the only thing I would say in this deck that's quote unquote a stretch is if you're creating the magical Christmas land of like uh Brago and Charming Prince and Conjurer's Closet and Zor
Yeah,
and Lavinia. And it's like, oh, okay, settle the hell down. But
right,
I
right,
think we
right.
have enough redundancy through this deck that having something that ETBs gives you initiative and something else that ETBs exiles something else.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna happen a lot. All right. Well, there's 3 other cards. I'm gonna assume it's the one that I don't know if it's its middle name or
oh,
a sneeze.
he is a sun monk, don't you understand?
I do
And
not.
also one of the worst characters in the game. He's completely trash. So
But I
we are
thought
talking
Imoen
about
was.
no. She's good.
Uh oh.
She has thief and casting, so mages are the most strong are the strongest, and the fact that she has thief as a beginning one is also pretty uncommon in the game. So Imoen's
Okay.
not bad. She's just annoying because she's always like,
Mm,
I don't want to let you hurt my friends. The other one, Aerie, who's like an elf mage cleric who had her wings cut off. She's the worst, but she's really strong. So, anyways, Rasad in Bashir is a Sun Soul monk. That costs he's a human monk, 2 colorless and a white for an 0/3. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. But when he attacks, if you have the initiative, double the toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. How is this a spice? Like I think this is one of the main ways you win, right?
so it's a spice because we're
He
not.
also has to attack.
Well, no, it's a spice because I was looking through the deck. I don't actually know how prevalent the toughness, like, not most of them have the same power and toughness. There's like a handful of creatures that the toughness is bigger than the
Sure.
power. So that was just kind of my thought. It's like this seems more wall esque, but it does have some synergies with dungeons and initiatives. So have
Yeah.
it in. This is one that if you were like, yeah, I think that's a little too sweaty for me, I'd have been like, oh, okay, that's fine.
The double no, I see. I disagree because the toughness, even if they're a 2/1, right? That's kind of
Hmm.
sucks because when you double that. But if they're 2/3 or something like that, like even Imoen, she's swinging for 3 times as much damage with
That's
the
true.
sod out. So I think he's actually a really good pick. So uh I think it's more of a use card the way I'd play this, but well, time will tell.
All
He's way
right.
more
Well,
useful in this than he is in the freaking video game. I can tell you that much. It's trash in that.
absolute trash. All right, everyone. Well, that's going to wrap up the spice section. Now we're going to head over to the bottle capping. And as a reminder, these are going to be big tucks, cuts, and adds to the deck. That will be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. The only restriction is no mana only lands. And for our virtual audience only, because we have stopped recording, we're going to take a short little couple minute break and we will be right back.
Faded. Getting
Faded.
Getting faded.
All right. Thanks for hanging on YouTube and Twitch. We are now about to resume the audio recording. All right, Big Tuck. What was going to be the first card that you wanted to cut from this deck? And what was the card that you decided to add?
So the way I'm thinking of this is like I'm gonna want this deck to go kind of wider, right? We're gonna
Okay.
have a bunch of creatures, we're gonna be attacking in and that sort of thing. And I like the fact that we can make things unblockable, but I think we need a little, maybe a few more effects that are a little broader.
Okay.
And also, there was one key ingredient that you did not include in this, which is shame on you. Two, really, but that's fine. So in that regard, I'm gonna cut Prowler's Helm. Two colorless for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature can't be blocked except by walls. Equipped 2. Fine card. I like it. I think it's a great way of stacking evasion, but I want stuff that is even broader for our evasion package. And we talked about drawing cards to get to Approach of the Second Sun, right? So what's another way to draw a free card every turn?
Phyrexian Arena.
Very close. But we are talking about the Monarch, baby. And the card that I only chose one, was Keeper of the Keys. So 3 colorless, double blue for a 4/4 creature, human, rogue, mutant. When it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you're the Monarch, creatures you control can't be blocked this turn. So I'm hoping that if we get him out fast enough and early enough, we'll be able to keep the Monarch as we're building up our armies, as well as we continue to build up our little token boys to be blocking so we can hold on to the Monarch, get unblockable, take the initiative back, and do whatever else we need to on our turns.
Keeper of what?
Keeper of keys. Like key bumps. Think about it that way.
Oh, for some reason, Scryfall could not, like, it just kept saying it couldn't
It wasn't
find
working
it.
for you?
Yeah. Like, I'm literally over here in Google trying to freaking find this card. All right. So, I think this is, I mean, it's on flavor for you. So, I don't have a lot to say here. I think here's the thing I don't like about this card, and just being honest, um, it triggers
You
at
have
your
to
upkeep.
have it on your upkeep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you have 0 ways of controlling that. So if anything, I think this is, you're never actually going to get this whole creatures you control can't be blocked this turn. I genuinely don't think you're going
I
to.
don't know.
Because, well, people are going to be swinging at you anyway, buddy. Because they need to, get that initiative, and they just need those effects. So don't know what to tell you, but I don't think that's going to work out.
We'll see. We'll see when we
Yeah.
build it. And this is also, I think this is the most expensive card at 260 that I'm doing this whole trip. This whole cut and add section.
All right. Well, what are you doing for under 50?
So this is one that we've cut before. I think this is going to have the same problem with the second ability from Azor, but Secret Door for me, I think is kind of an easy one to get out of it. Get out. I try not to cut too much out of the spice, but this is one that is like, So Secret Doors, 1 blue for an Overflow Defender wall. It's a common, 4 colorless and a blue. Venture into the dungeon. Activate only as a sorcery. I think like just like what you said with Azure, I think we are not going to be having piles of mana left over to get going, right? So, and I think I really want to focus in on the blinking part of the deck, right? With the commander, with the background and everything there. So I'd rather have the spot for a card that I can blink in and out as opposed to paying for it. So this one to me is just like kind of slow. It can't even attack, that sort of thing. Just not my favorite card not my favorite card with the venture on it.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And honestly, the reason it was in the deck is single mana. It's a blocker to protect your initiative, and then I guess if you don't have anything to do, I guess you can venture. But it's easily one that can be upgraded into something better.
Sure. And that card for me is, I think this card is very good. Feywild Visitor, the other one that we're talking about that generates our little flying boys. So 2 colorless and a blue for legendary enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have whenever 1 or more token creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature token with flying. We're going to be spreading out a little bit. Now, I'll show you as to why here in a little bit. But even just generating an additional 1/1 flyer to block with, to take the initiative back, to take the monarch back with every turn for me on your turn is well worth the investment on these things. It's an enchantment. It's hard to remove. It's going to really make people think about like this one. I mean, if you compare it to the other backgrounds that we have in here, this one's going to fly totally under the radar, and you'll have this generating value for you the entire game. At least that's been my experience with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
You're
this
not
isn't
sold on this
really.
one either,
No, not at all. Especially because it's one or more. You get
right?
1 1 1. That sucks. That's not
Well,
good.
that's if you it's per player, so you get 3 if you get in a point of damage on 3 different players.
Sure, but now we're starting to go extremely wide with where our damage is going, and
Sure.
it's not like you're going wide as in I'm trying to throw a lot of bodies at my opponents. It's I'm just going wide because I'm sprinkling the damage around, and this isn't going to be a deck that I think can do that type of strategy. I think you're going to
Oh,
have to think more Voltron esque, where I'm more focusing my damage on one opponent, but then when I spread it around, it's just purely to get that initiative or monarch back. Which, by the way, I don't know if I want to be at a table with this deck because we're gonna have monarch, we're gonna have initiative. It's like, wait, who has what? Who's on first?
yes.
That just sounds
Initiative is the
terrible.
hardest because you have to have the card that has the front, and then everyone needs to have their own back end of it. So I've noticed initiative is the one that kind of gets forgotten about pretty quickly.
All right. Well, what are you doing for the no budget? You usually don't go too crazy here, but
No.
what are you thinking?
So the one again, this was really hard to do, and another one that I didn't like because it has to deal damage was Shortcut Seeker. So that one is 3 colorless and a blue for a 2/5 human rogue, and then when it deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. I would much rather have the blink effects of this. If this was just on attack, like I think the much better version of this, which is the Dragon Paladin, like I think that card is so much better, even at a lower cost. The Shortcut Seeker to me just didn't really jump out. Doesn't have any evasion,
Hmm.
kind of a chonky boy. Doesn't give you the initiative or anything. So I think we do a little better.
That's interesting because see, I thought this was up your alley. It's a 2/5, so it has a big butt, so it works really
Sure.
well with your spice card that you liked, and it forces combat damage to be able to get the thing. And I would think in your head you're like, well, I'm going to be swinging anyways. At least now I can get it. So that's an interesting cut. But I'm sure you just have some ETB initiative venture thing that'll just get you that a little bit quicker.
Or do I? Or do I have a way that all these little trinklets and all these little tastes over the course of the game will end up winning it for us? Because if we are creating tokens, if we are going to the red zone with unblockable creatures, and if we want another way to boost us up a little bit in the mana perspective, I'm going to take you to the stadium, my friend. We're going to go to the stadium, have an ice cold beer, and then I'm going to knock someone out of the game when they're not looking at it because Strixhaven Stadium is the card for this deck. It's amazing. 3 colors for an artifact. Tap for colorless. Put a point counter on Strixhaven Stadium. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, remove a point counter from it. But whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, put a combat counter on it. Then if it has 10 or more point counters on it, remove them all, and that player loses the game. Little baby dragons going in. 3/5 giant what was that one? There's one in here that I think is awesome. Goliath Paladin going in, get in the red zone. All these flyers, all this evasion that we going on here. It's great. This is gonna blow someone out of the water and they're not even gonna see it coming. It's amazing.
Sure.
That's why I
um,
told you I have two must-have tuck cards in these builds, and then one that I think is efficient to get into those other tuck cards. And it rams you for free.
It doesn't ramp you for free. It costs 3 mana for a
Well, right,
colorless.
but I'm saying like it pays for itself, sort of, right, over the course of a handful of turns. It's amazing.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's gotta go so well in this deck. I'm telling you.
I just want the community to have it on record that Tuck talks about these pie in the sky mechanics and loops, and genuinely, I don't think he could even drunkenly lie and say that he's ever actually been able to do this stuff consistently.
I haven't. Okay, I have been able to do this one before in the rogue deck. That was awesome.
But that's a little bit different. They're all pretty much unblockable. Not
Correct.
like,
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
if I have this thing out that I've
You
completed
got
a
this
dungeon,
thing and
so
then that
I
thing.
have unblockable, and I have to have the monarch at the beginning of my upkeep, and I'm
We're
going to
drawing a
somehow
gazillion
protect that.
cards.
And I got like
It's
10
gotta be
creatures
great.
out here. Just good lord.
It's how you work. The other the card I didn't get to talk about either that I think is going to be. I know why you put it into the grains, but I think open into wonder into this deck is
Hmm.
probably I think it's like all three kind of right. So for those just real quick because I know we're wrapping up here shortly. X blue for sorcery. X target creatures can't be blocked this turn until end turn. Those creatures also gain whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player. Draw a card. I feel like that is going to be one of like the cornerstones for me in this deck, right? Like if you draw that card, I think it gives you so much opportunities to either do a bunch of damage, get whatever you need back, refill your hand. Just what a blowout.
Yeah, that was actually a last minute addition by Marketing Ross, so you can
Oh,
definitely
nice.
thank him for that one. Yeah, no, and the main reason for me in Grain was just like, I guess you could put 4 into it, get a couple things unblockable, get the
Draw
initiative
two.
back,
Yeah.
draw a couple cards. But yeah, it absolutely could be a game winner at the end of the game. Well, everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. And you're at the end of the episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to our Twitch, or at least follow our Twitch channel. We haven't really looked at like what subscribing and gifting and stuff like that looks like on
Oh yeah.
Twitch. But subscribe to us on YouTube if that's where you're watching us now, or if you're listening to us a week later, still subscribe to YouTube, but also wherever you get us on your podcast platforms. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can get to me at Mr. Comment number 5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. Big Tuck, what's your gimmick?
I have not had time to breathe this week, so I just I want to applaud you because you were all up in the Twitterverse this week. I saw that.
I was trying. I was trying.
So yeah, I just didn't have the time this week. So
Well, you guys can also follow our primary account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well, and we will be every Sunday before noon Central. It could be at noon, it might be a little bit before, it just kind of depends. But by noon every Central time on Sundays, you guys will be getting a pinned tweet with our schedule for that week. So if it's a live like we're doing right now, which I guess all of these are technically live, but when you're listening to them, they're like in the
they're not
future. Like,
live.
how does that work? It's like everything everywhere all at once. I think I said that movie title right.
Yes,
So I want to see that movie. I've heard great things.
it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. 5 out of 5,
So
4.5, 5 out of 5, I think.
so we'll have live listed if it is going to be a live recording. If it's the recorded from the previous week's live, it'll just have it listed. But you guys should be getting at least 3 to 5 pieces of CMD Tower content every single week. So make sure you follow that primary Twitter account so you guys can be up to date on it. If you guys would like to actually see this deck list, a lot of the cuts and ads, or even links to the videos, just go to our website, cmdtower.com/BNBE151. Basically, type in, I'm surprised you didn't talk about it, Cathar's Crusade, Midnight
Oh yeah.
Pathfighter, Delver's Torch, Tower.com. And, just kind of a quick little recap. If you guys are looking to support us, you can do it through a myriad of ways. Patreon.com/CMD Tower, Abyss Proxy Shop, code CMD Tower, or Etsy.com, CMD Tower in the search bar. All 3 ways are different avenues that you guys can help us out financially. If you like the content we're pushing out, it's definitely not going to my private yacht, which is the size, I think, of a Lego. I'm hoping I can, do one of those trade up scenarios where someone like takes a pin and gets a Ferrari. That's what we're trying to do, and we can only do that with your help.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? It's like the thing where you trade the pen for a bag of oranges, and then you keep going up that way, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I think there's actually some like annoying young kid that has a popular YouTube channel where he does that, but I'll see his stuff pop up on Facebook where it's like he'll show up to a TCG convention and have a Pokemon card. And he's trying to like elevate it up to like a graded 9 hollow first edition Charizard or something like that. And it's whatever. But say yes to the deck. Imoen is traveling far. What did you think, Big Tuck? We already know you already said yes, you SOB.
Yes.
But now that we've talked through it, are you more excited? Are you a little hesitant? And how would this play in your play group?
I think this would play great. I think this is like pretty much a fastball down the middle for our play group. They like these sort of bizarro mechanics. I don't think it's too aggressive in some regards. So yeah, I'm still super psyched about it. There's a lot of different ways I think you could take it to. Like when you start talking about Voltron, it's like, isn't there something? I think there's some Voltron piece where it's like when you've completed a dungeon, it gets something something. I think there's something along those lines. So I could kind of see it going that direction. But I just like the fact that you just get all these different interactions with the dungeons and how it's such a cool mechanic. I also acknowledge the irony that I pissed all over the first adventures in the Forgotten Realm set and was really pissed off about it. And I guess I've since come around to it. I've also started watching a lot of Baldur's Gate videos online, which I don't think is a healthy thing for me to do. But
Probably not.
we should probably next time. But no, I really think you outdid yourself with this one. I think it was right down the middle for what I was looking for.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah. Like I said, it was definitely trying to, because it's sometimes difficult to build in a color pie and go against
Mhm.
what that color pie wants to do, which
Yeah,
Azorius wants to somewhat control the board, in my opinion.
yeah,
And
for sure.
being able to find this kind of cool, unique initiative approach, I'm super super glad that you liked it. And I think the
And
cool,
well, I was gonna say to your point about the Azorius thing too, is like it wants to blink, right? And a lot of times
yeah.
they just blink crap with Brago and all that stuff, but we're like playing into that theme, but like doing it in a different way, which I think is like another reason why it's so great.
And the other thing I like about this is if initiative becomes a reprinted mechanic,
Yeah,
I easily think you could swap out the commander in the background for whatever the next
the next,
Azorius
yeah,
version is. And I don't think backgrounds are going to go away. So I actually think you could have this cool 98 card pile and almost have like a, well, what commander is going to fit me
yes,
best
yes, yes,
today?
yes.
And that's really, really neat.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like I said, I think it's a sweet deck. I am gone for another 2 more weekends out of this month, so my deck building time is not going to be existent. But this is the Azorius one is something I'm going to tear down, so it, I think it wouldn't be too hard to put this one back together.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. And as always, get handed.
Did you
All
get to do it with
right.
the guests? Did they do it?
They did do it and they all hysterically laughed.
Yes,
So,
it's the
uh
best.
Twitch and YouTube, thank you guys so much. We are going to actually, for anyone that wants to hang on, we're going to go raid let's go raid MTG Nerd Girl. So, that raid will be starting in 10, 9, 8, 7. Where's my heartbeat?
There it is.
Boom, 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 boom. And
uh,
see you, everyone. Have a great day.
who's MTG Nerd Girl? Who knows?